Before we get started, we really want to share with you our plans to take the podcast on the road. This means filming on-the-ground experiences in the U.S. and internationally, with in-the-field, face-to-face video interviews. It's an exciting yet ambitious undertaking, and we know we cannot do it without your help. If you feel inspired to join us in making this a reality, simply head over to the donate link in this episode's description. We cannot thank you enough for your continued support and your commitment to helping us share more of these wild stories and amazing people. So we had another visitor to the sanctuary today, which is great. Tom McPherson and your lovely family. This is great. You three of your daughters, and it's just great that you're able to make it here. I didn't realize you had family in California, and this just all worked out really, really well, man. How you doing, first of all?
Yeah, I'm good. It's been a little bit of a whirlwind. But yeah, we weren't too far away, so I just had to come down and meet you and the wolves and see your facility here. And so yeah, it was really amazing to be able to come and meet you and get my daughters in there with you guys and meet all the wolves.
It was great. Yeah. I mean, what's the difference for you, or what were the things that are coming up for you? Because we were talking about this prior, that you get to see the sea wolves from afar for the most part.
Yeah.
And now you're able to go in and physically touch and have interactions. What was coming up for you when we were doing all that stuff?
Yeah, it was really interesting because I just found myself constantly trying to read the animal just like I do with the wild ones, and just seeing some of the similarities actually, and especially the more we got, closer to the higher content ones. I forget the name of one of the last ones we just saw.
Oh, Jax, I think. Jackson Nakumi.
Yeah. So just the way it was, looking at me and sussing me out and the girls, and just sort of that cautious curiosity, which is what I see with the wild ones. And so, yeah, it's just neat to meet these animals and, see that similarity here.
And you're able to take a lot of what you learned. And I didn't realize you were doing Seaforth for 21 years.
That's just guiding.
Guiding, but still even guiding for 21 years to pick all that stuff up. I mean, you were talking about the animals, looking at you and sussing out and everything. Were you doing the same thing? What were you
sure.
taking?
Yeah, and probably partially, especially with my girls, because that's certainly the closest we've ever been to wolves, and just kind of that. Yeah, I think it's mutual, the way that we kind of, I can see in you too. There's this there's a caution there, I suppose, that you're just watching and reading the animal, and and there's some very big personality differences between each one, and
right.
That's what we see in the wild too. We've got the ones that don't want to come close, and they keep their distance, or they're busy with their job or their role within the pack, and they have no interest in us. And we could see, at the back of the enclosures, those more nervous ones that they're curious still, but they want their space, and they're hanging out at the back. And yeah, it's, we see every animal's got a personality, whether it's a bear or a whale or the wolves, but it's unique with the animals as you get to know them, to learn about those personalities and kind of have an idea of what to expect. And so it's different because you're with these wolves and wolf dogs every day, and you get to know them, and we're not with our wild wolves every day. That's just not possible with sea wolves. But we're with them enough, and we've spent enough time. It's been 6 years for Seaforth that we've been doing this in a dedicated manner. And so we've really gotten to know our local pack as best we can. And yeah, it's just neat kind of seeing the differences and similarities. So it's been a really amazing experience to come here and and get to meet all your animals.
You're right though about the personalities, and it's cool that you make that correlation between the wild and the ones that are here in the sanctuary, right? Because we, as you said, we have that relationship, we have that responsibility of understanding their personalities and knowing their little ins and outs and their quirks and things like that. Do you I imagine you share that with the people that you guide or you take on any of these tours, because it seems as though every time I read a post or see something from you, you have these little insights and these little quirks that people are never going to know except for you, because you're there all the time, and you may think you probably don't know them, but you probably know them better than most.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like, it's, I think as far as sea wolves go, I don't know of anybody who's really put in the dedicated time with an individual pack. So I think that's kind of what sets our operation apart a little bit, is just that we've just been putting in the time, and also giving space, because we're back and forth a bit. But the interesting thing for us is that we're always trying to piece together the story. Like you have a story that each animal comes with, and you've either learned or been told what's happened, and you've rescued or provided this sanctuary for the animals, which is amazing. And for us, we get these little snippets, hopefully every week, every time we go out there, we have an opportunity to see the pack or members of the pack. Like this last January, we had all of a sudden there was 2 extra wolves with the pack, and it's just like, where did they come from? So now it's, this story unfolds and develops, and we're just always trying to piece together this, ongoing story.
How do you keep track of these stories somewhere? Like, are you journaling? Are you marking this stuff down? Because that's incredibly fascinating to see that, especially to have 2 other wolves show up in a pack. I think anywhere else, because you don't have GPS collars, you're just going off site. So how are you keeping track of that stuff?
Yeah, it's mostly just through photos. In a way, my Instagram is very much a blog of the story. It is very much a way that I'm logging little events. So it might not be the best way. And I have actually, been thinking, I really should probably be, journaling every encounter. But it's rather funny. I have a terrible memory, but when it comes to the wolves and the images and the stories, I can recall the month and often who I was with. But everything else in my life is like a disaster. Like, I don't know what's in the fridge. I miss the dance pickups for my daughters. It's just like, I'm just like, I can barely keep it all together. But I think there's just something actually so captivating about being in those moments. And then, I take a picture, and my recall on that stuff it's actually kind of odd for me. It's just like, it's the one thing I can do.
It's the one thing you keep in mind. Yeah, one thing I can remember these wolves because you reference them so vividly. Yeah. Because this one is I think one was Squint or
Wink.
Wink.
Yeah,
it's always Wink. I hear you talk about all the time. Yeah. You were talking about the other alpha male that you were talking. Who's the one you mentioned today?
Yeah, Leo.
Right.
He's the breeding male, and we were just talking about the ages of some of the wolves you have here, which is getting up there to 15 years, which is really amazing. And the story I was relaying was that when I first saw Leo, he was already the leader of the pack and the breeding male, and that was 6 years ago. So I'm thinking he's got to be like 10, 11 years old, maybe a little more. And, certainly his coat has changed. And, we've seen some changes just recently in his personality too, which is really interesting.
What kind of things have you seen?
Well, it used to be that, let's say if I had a group of people, and we're kind of, tucked in somewhere and there's some other wolves around us, more than once, like numerous times, Leo would all of a sudden appear, and he wouldn't even have to say anything. He would just appear in the distance. The other wolves would see him, and then they'd just leave us and go to him, and usually go in the forest, and that was it. Like, it would when he shows up, it was kind of like game over.
Wow.
End of the encounter sort of thing. Sometimes he would bark, like and like if he saw the other wolves kind of in any sort of proximity to the humans, he would make some noise, and they would, kind of like, "Whoops, sorry, Dad. I know, we shouldn't be doing this," sort of thing. And, for that, I've always thought of him as like a really fantastic leader. He kind of keeps the other wolves in check, and, like, obviously not all humans are safe, and each individual wolf is coming with their own level of, or their own personality and level of curiosity. So some of them would come close on occasion. And yeah, like I say, if he was around, he would usually make a bit of noise and terminate the experience. But that is part of the experience, is witnessing this natural behavior of a wolf, of a strong, alpha male who knows, his role within the pack. And so just recently last January we had, the entire pack, which was, 2 more than I was expecting. So I was expecting 5, and 7 came strolling past us. And the odd thing for me in that encounter was that Leo was with them, and he didn't terminate this experience. They just walked right by us, and he basically ignored us. And the more senior wolves within the pack, they kind of kept their distance, but 2 of the younger ones kind of came over for a closer look. And
a little more bold and curious at that point. To make that experience for you guys to have that, to have that close encounter.
Yeah, so, that's, it's to have those, even at a distance, it's amazing just to be in their presence. And that's, normally what we're, kind of hoping for or expecting. But then, if 1 or 2 of the younger ones comes over, or sometimes the one we call Bandy for her white band, the breeding female, so often she's busy and, she's got a job to do, but every now and then she'll come kind of close, and sometimes she'll lay down in front of our people, and sometimes the lay down is only for like 45 seconds, or,
right.
Sometimes it's longer, but, she'll just kind of watch us and then carry on again. But, she's interesting because she, when I first met her, she was probably about 3 years old, and she was actually very curious. And, I've probably got some of my most amazing shots from random encounters with her. And, what was really interesting was to have her kind of move. She was part of a pack to the south originally, and she moved up to the north and joined Leo about 3 years ago, and has been with him ever since. But I've definitely seen a transition in that initial kind of young curiosity that she originally had to now. She has an important job, and it's those kind of encounters are few and far between, but when they happen, it's really amazing and, really wonderful to be able to connect with her.
What is it like for you? Because you usually it's at a distance. You connect at a closer range here today.
Yeah.
And being in closer proximity. And we were just discussing on the way to the studio space here that your daughters really seem to have a little piece of you in all of them, about the way that they are around the animals and around the wolves, and understanding sort of those little nuances too. Where, and what does that say to, I guess, them learning through osmosis? Kind of, that stuff. What does that look like for you on a regular basis? And then seeing it in a different scenario like you did today.
Yeah, I think, in some ways, today, I guess, went very much as I would have expected. My older daughter, Poppy, she's a lot like me in many ways, but she has other interests in general. But so she's a little bit more observing everything and taking it all in, and also enjoying the experience. Lucy, my middle daughter, she's always been an animal lover and just drawn to animals, and has threatened to take over my business at some point, which is fantastic. But yeah, she's, you saw her putting wolves to sleep out there, just petting them, and I think it's an amazing experience for my girls to get to come here, and we noticed the energy of Evie, who's 10, and kind of how excited the wolves got with her. She seemed to attract them, and it is interesting too. I think we see, like in nature, like with wild animals, I always try to have a very calm, gentle approach.
Sure.
Because that is what's required. If you move fast or make noise or things like that, or fumble something, it really disrupts the moment or just that connection, and makes them wary and cautious. And we saw a little bit of that with the girls maybe moving too fast or something a little bit. But it's really amazing to be able to share this experience with them, and just see how each of them kind of related to the animals, and how the animals related back. So
it's such a reciprocal relationship, right? About just giving what they, or receiving what you may not think you need at that moment. And it was just really, it was really touching to see how all three of them, as you said, in their own way, brought their gift to each enclosure we were in, each place that we stopped, listening to the stories here and there, and interacting in the ways that they did, and you yourself too. Why is that so important with when you do your guiding and you do your tours, to share the story, to get on that level for people, and have people understand the depth at which these wild wolves as much as we probably know ours that are here in this sanctuary.
I think I just really love sharing the experience, and I think that's certainly a big part of what you guys do here, and helping people connect to nature and the wilderness is really important. I think these days I think nature's just so precious. If you think about on the human scale what we are doing to the environment, and the challenges that nature faces just to maintain what's left of the stronghold it once had. I think it's just really important to try and connect people to nature. And if you can't connect them physically, like I do, taking pictures and videos and sharing stories, so that even though many people may never get to where we are or have the opportunity to come with me or visit your facility here, they can, through what we do, become passionate and care, enough to hopefully do something and support your work, and, support some of the work that we're doing, as we kind of try to get our stories out, and, move towards some conservation efforts that are lurking in the background.
I think that's such a great point, is that storytelling really has no bounds in that way, because because you mentioned Wink and Leo and all these other wolves, and I feel like I know them because I've seen many of your posts, and, and many people even on the sanctuary grounds today who came up to you and said they follow you and they love the work that you guys do. Yeah. So it's far reaching as much as it may seem like it's local. Yeah. And it's the same thing here at Wolf Connection is that we think it's all just sort of local, but then you hear globally when you get an email from somebody in a different country or a different state and go, oh, right, the stories reverberate across all these different things. Yeah. I mean, last thing, and really just can't thank you all enough for making the time to come up here. I know you guys are busy and everything, but what's future? What are people looking for if they go to Seaforth? Is there any new places that you're exploring? Any new kind of guiding things that you're up to? I know it's only been, you've been doing the guiding for 6 years at Seaforth, but what can people expect if they're looking to go up there and meet you and see these wolves in person? Yeah.
Every trip that we do is different. My girlfriend Jem is out there right now. They're between trips. I have a good friend, Xander, who's been leading a group. And so that's a little bit different, for I've had some crews help in the past, but it's mostly been me and Jem doing the majority of the guiding. So, certainly I'm seeing more demand for trips. And so I'm trying to manage that and trying to make sure that, we've got the best people to help. So I think, I'd like to hope that we can expand a little bit more. I'm also cautious about that because, I don't deny the impact that we have by being on the landscape. Sure. And, we do try to keep that to a minimum as far as our interactions, our profile, and just how we are on the landscape. But mostly we're trying to hide a little bit, but that only goes so far with wolves, But it's not. There's been many times where I've had, our groups out and the wolves just carry on acting naturally and doing their thing and don't actually notice us, But that's more often they do notice us and they choose their proximity, which is the ideal kind of situation for what we do. But so as far as the future, hopefully I'd like to be able to offer more opportunities and we're always playing around with different little ideas here and there. But we've been collecting some scats for some DNA. So I've been hoarding them for a little while, and I need to get them out of the freezer and off to the biologists who are going to look at that. So that's going to be very interesting to get that information back. And I certainly have some conservation efforts in mind that we're hoping to roll out in the near future and create an opportunity for people to support some of that work that we do, because I do quite a lot of trips throughout the year where I don't necessarily have clients, or essentially the trips aren't paying for themselves. It's coming out of pocket sort of thing. Partly, it's driven by passion, but I'd love to kind of take that next step to be working on some conservation efforts through a bit of a side channel of Seaforth. So
that's awesome.
We're looking to roll that out in the near future. I'd wanted to release it earlier, but we weren't quite ready for that. It's lots on the plate at the moment. So taking on another thing is another challenge. But I feel like given the amount of data that I have access to, it really needs to go somewhere, and for the benefit of the wolves. I'd like to take those steps as soon as possible.
That's awesome. Stay tuned, everybody, for that. Yeah, that's gonna be great.
We'll get it out there eventually.
That's terrific. Yeah. Tom, thanks so much again for making up here and spending time with our pack. And
Yeah.
send my regards to your packs up there. We'll be up there soon, I promise you.
Yeah, we'll get you up there. Yeah,
for sure. Tom McPherson, again, go to seaforthexpeditions.com.
Yep.
Okay, yeah.
Yep.
So go check them out for sure, and look at all the follow on their Instagram. Tom does an amazing job. Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Really appreciate you and your daughters being up here and sharing the stories and sharing these interactions. Really appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks for hosting us.
Of course.
It's been wonderful.
Yeah, totally. How's the all out there? We'll be with you next time. Bye, everybody. Looking for more information about Wolf Connection or the podcast? Please visit our website at wolfconnection.org, where you can donate, sponsor a wolf, or become a volunteer.